Hello YouTube, this is in fact Big Apple. I know you don't notice the table, it's because I have a bed sheet over it. I figured this may help with some of the reflection and everything, so I'm going to give that a try in this review. Also, I'm a little hoarse because I got my tonsils removed about a week ago, like a week and a half ago or so. So if I'm a little hoarse, bear with me. I've been wanting to do this review for a while. I've had this pistol for like a month. So anyway, today it's on the Walther P99QA for quick action. A lot of the things about this are going to reflect on the regular PPQ as well. I'm not sure of the other abbreviations besides quick action, but the only difference between this and some of the other P99s that I know of is the trigger. And I'm going to talk about the trigger later. The quick action is set up a certain way. But yeah, so this is the QA model. Some others have a different trigger, but the Ergos and Materials should be the same. This is also the predecessor to the PPQ. So if you hear me mention the PPQ a lot, it's because most of the things that make this an older pistol have been remedied by the PPQ. But it's still a classic, so we're going to talk about it. Use as I see, home defense, recreation, and concealed carry. Just like any other full-size pistol, like I always talk about, I don't think concealed carry is the bullet point for this pistol because not everybody's going to carry a full-size pistol. It's a little more of a hassle. Granted, this one does have a 4-inch barrel, so it's not like a 5-inch like my core here, but it's also not a 3.5 like my M&P 9C here, and the frame is longer. So for it being set up this way, I see it as any other full-size pistol, home defense or recreation. It is a pretty fun pistol to shoot, so that's where I see it. You could carry it if you wanted to, but that's the purpose I see of it. What comes in the box, well, I borrowed it from a friend, so I don't have a box to show, but it comes with two 12-round mags and rubberized back straps. The back straps, you know, just like the PPQ, because this is what the PPQ is based on. Back straps are held in with roll pins, which I'm really not wild about at all, but you know, it still comes with the different ones. It's just not as easy to swap out as some others. You know, the M&P, you rotate this little thing and pull it out. You can change back straps. On other pistols, it's a little easier. So I just don't like that it's held in with a roll pin. I wasn't a big fan of that, but it does have your I guess your lanyard loop if this was supposed to be a duty gun. You know, this little gap here that I talked about bothering me on the PPQ review. But regardless, I don't like that it's held in with roll pins. Now it does have two 12-round mags, and I'll show you a magazine issue in a second. I think it's a low capacity for a 40. I'm not sure what the PPQ holds in 40, but I mean, it's just an old gun. These are nice mags though. They're made in Italy. They're probably made by Metgar. They're blued. I really like the magazines. But if you look at it compared to like an M&P 40 magazine here, this one holds 15 rounds, this one holds 12. The M&P mag is a little bit longer, but they're able to fit 3 more rounds in there. And I think that just has to do with old technology, the fact that this pistol's old, and this pistol was mainly made for 9mm. Like during the release of 40, when it was released, I don't know, I think early 90s was when 40 was released, a lot of companies had to upsize their pistols to fit it. So I'm pretty sure a regular PPQ would hold 15 rounds of 9mm, which is pretty good. So yeah, all right, now for the magazine issue. You see this is fully loaded with 12 rounds here. And for whatever reason, trying to load it in the pistol, you get a lot of resistance. And, you know, of course, like any fully loaded magazine, you really got to hit it hard to get in there. Putting that last round in the magazine is really tough. But this is the thing I don't like. It's really, really hard to release, and it doesn't pop free. If you look on an empty magazine, it pops out so easily. I mean, it's like on the PPQ, like I said, the magazines drop very easily, and I really like that. For whatever reason, I guess it expands a little bit when it's fully loaded or something because that last round is so tight, but it won't drop free with 12. I think it might actually drop free with 11, so I'll take a round out here. Yeah, so 11 rounds it almost does. See, it still won't completely drop free, but I don't know what that has to do with the way the magazine's designed, but for whatever reason, it does that. So I thought I would at least mention it. Ergos and features, the weight, 25.6 ounces. That's relatively lightweight for a polymer frame, 4-inch, you know, pistol. So that's a decent weight. Most of it obviously is in the slide. The slide's not horribly thick. It's a pretty decent weight. The grip and frame, this is polymer. It feels kind of cheap compared to some modern ones. It's easily scratched. It kind of feels hollow. I guess maybe this is just because a lot of newer pistols now have better texturing on the plastic. Maybe this isn't glass-filled nylon like a lot of the modern polymers, but it just doesn't feel as good. It doesn't, I don't know, to me it feels a little bit cheap, I guess. When I hold an M&P, this doesn't flex as much. It's more textured. Glocks are the same way. They seem to have a lot more durable and I guess just confidence inspiring feeling plastic. Same with the XD. I just think it's because this pistol's old. So the PPQ has a very high quality texturing and seems to be a big improvement over this. So again, that issue is remedied by the PPQ. The inner rails also don't seem as thick as some modern offerings. So disassembly is really easy. I'll show you again how to do this later, but yeah, it's pretty freaking easy. So these inner rails here, you see you got a little bit of surface there and a little bit there. And I'm pretty sure if you look at it, it looks like a lot of this stuff is kind of set into the polymer here. So they're decent frame rails, but it's not like the big old pieces of metal that you see in a lot of pistols. Like if I show you my my M&P here, I'm going to be using the M&P a lot because it's the only other pistol I have here available besides my compact. But Glocks and XDs are the same way. They have these really big chunks of metal that to me seem a lot more durable. So I'm not sure about the PPQ's innards. Maybe I showed it in the other video. But yeah, so to me it's just a little outdated. So you'll see that being a recurring theme in here. But I'll talk about disassembly again later. The backstrap's made of rubber, held in by a roll pin. Talked about that already. I don't like that it's held in with a roll pin. I wish it was easier to remove so you could change those easier. The grip and grip angle feels really good. 1911 type grip angle. It's real slim. Compare it to an M&P here. Very slim. The backstraps don't necessarily adjust the width. You know, they are just a backstrap, so they would adjust how much is in your palm here. But to me, the grip feels really good. I mean, it's pretty easy to point, has a natural feel. The frame is made in Germany. The slide is made in America. I don't know if all 40 Smith & Wesson slides were made in America, but if you look, it does say Smith & Wesson, Springfield, Massachusetts. So the slide on this pistol is made in America. I think all 9mm were made in Germany, and I think that the 40 slides are made in America. So I could be right or wrong on that. Like I said, I'm not a Walther expert. I just read up about it a little bit. But this slide is definitely made in America because it is chambered in 40. I'll also say too that the roll pins just seem to be sliding around everywhere on this frame. So this is an old gun. It's been shot a lot. It's a friend of mine's. Like I said, it was his first gun. This one's kind of gone a little bit to one side. This roll pin you see is kind of hanging out here. The one on the mag release was actually starting to hang out so much it made me uncomfortable, so I punched it back in. And let's see, I guess that one's recessed a little bit. But if you compare it to modern offerings, again, like the M&P, I'm going to keep talking about this, these roll pins don't move at all. And same thing with you know, Rugers I've fired, Glocks I've fired, they just don't have these problems. I guess it's just an older gun and that's just how it acts. But it's one thing I noticed. The mag release is ambient, it's got a paddle, very German style here, HK, Walther style. I always end up, on guns that have ambi mag releases, I always end up using the right side with my trigger finger. So, you know, I come off my grip, boom, I hit it right there. I really like it. It's pretty low pro on this thing. I guess if you're not used to it, you might accidentally hit it. But to me, it's got enough tension to where you wouldn't accidentally hit it, and it's good enough to where it's easy to access. I don't like that they're plastic. You see how long they are, and they're plastic. I think if the mag release is going to be that long and plastic, that should be made out of metal, because you know you might be able to shear off these tabs here. Although this does feel like pretty durable polymer. So, especially if you're trying to eject the mag when it's fully loaded, I think these should be made out of metal. But that's just me. They're still easy to access, still ambi, so I like that. It's got a good undercut trigger guard. So if you look at the trigger guard here, it's got this undercut here to get your hand in there, which I like. It's very smooth, very easy to point, just like most modern offerings, like the M&P that has the little undercut there. So they were pretty spot on with the way the human hand feels. I think the grip altogether is pretty good. So yeah, I'm a fan of that. I passed up the slide release. The wide flat slide release is pretty good. It has kind of a different bumped feel to it because if you look, it kind of bumps out at the in the middle. I don't know. To me, it just feels weird because when you're trying to get on it, it's like, it's like bumped in the middle. You don't get a lot of traction. You kind of have to work to push it up compared to some others that, have good cuts and are kind of beveled out at the top. So that's really just a personal feel thing. And to me, it just kind of feels different. I mean, it's usable and it's in a good spot, but it just feels different to me. So that kind of bump feels a little weird, but it's still there. So. Accessory rail, you got one option to mount, light or anything else there. You just got one little cut here, whereas some others have two or three. I think a lot of Glocks and M&Ps and XDs in them all have 2 or 3 notches to mount stuff. But regardless, I'm pretty sure most factory things are set up to where they'd be easy to access if they're out here on the front of the trigger guard. So it still has an accessory rail though. It's better than not having one at all. It gives you options to mount stuff. Beveled mag well, I like how smooth the mags go in and everything. I really like that they have blue followers in the magazines, just like I mentioned in the PPQ review with the red followers. I really like that the followers are colored. That way, if you're empty or anything and you have any question, all you have to do is barely peer in there and you see that identifying color. It's very easy to notice. I don't know why more companies don't do that. I guess maybe it kind of doesn't look tactical enough whenever the magazine's just, you know, sitting here plain, but I really like colored followers. I don't know, personal preference, but to me I think it's cool, and I like that Walther does it on the PPQ still. They just changed to red instead of blue. P99, Smith & Wesson 99, which was also kind of based on this gun, and PPQ mags are all kind of similar. You can also buy some from Magnum Research that'll work with this. I'm not sure which magazine has different feed lips, if it's the PPQ or the P99. The magazines will work in different guns, but one of them you will have to modify the feed lips. I think one of them is undercut just a little bit farther here in the front. If you go to some Walther forums, they have plenty of people that talk about it there that have modified to get it to work. So it wouldn't be difficult to do. Trigger and trigger guard. The trigger is kind of the weak point of this gun, the QA model that is. It's heavy and long, has a lot of travel to me. It feels about 6.5 to 7 pounds. The heavy trigger makes it harder to be accurate, especially with the long reach and take up, and the reset is also long and spongy. So this is definitely the low point of this gun, is the trigger. A lot of people rave about the regular P99 having a really good trigger, but the QA is not that great. So take up, there's not a whole lot of take up here, but then like that secondary take up is very, very heavy. And like, it's weird. When it breaks, it goes really far back there, and then your reset is almost all the way back forward. So, and you kind of have like a half reset there, but it's not actually reset until it clicks. This is definitely the weak point of this gun, is this trigger. It also sticks really far forward. I know this is an Apex trigger, so it's kind of closer back. That's why I changed it, really, because the M&P trigger sucks too. But I like that the trigger is made, well, it's made of polymer, but it's kind of got, I don't know, to me it has like a metal feel to it. It looks kind of like fiberglass, kind of textured. I don't like how it flares out a whole lot at the bottom. I mean, I guess that helps grab your finger, but it just adds to the reach the more it sticks forward. So trigger is definitely a weak point on this gun. It was okay in terms of accuracy if you really concentrated, but the long reach and it being really heavy does make it difficult to be accurate with this pistol. I'm sure bench rest shooting, it would have very good accuracy because, you know, Walther makes the barrel. Even though Smith & Wesson made the slide, Walther makes the barrel. But I don't know, shooting standing, regular combat accuracy would probably be fine. But it is a little bit tricky to be accurate when shooting steel or, you know, shooting bullseyes, just because that trigger is long and heavy and the reset's pretty bad. So trigger guard is pretty big and has a lot of room, so that's nice, and the disassembly is Glock-like. So trigger guard is big, has a lot of room. I kind of like this texturing up front, although I don't shoot with my finger forward like this. So if some people did, that would be kind of nice. I guess it's better than it being smooth and having no texturing like this, because it gives you an option. So the trigger guard's pretty well thought out, and you see it's really big. I just don't like how long you have to reach and how bad that reset is. But you know, that's just how it is. Now disassembly, very Glock-like. You push down on these tabs right here, of course with the magazine out of it. You push down on these tabs and you'll see the slide starts to move, and then you pull the trigger and it comes off. So this assembly is very easy. You know, you just kind of have to know the right way to do it, but it's extremely easy. Pop it back on and you're back in action. You don't have to flip any switches or anything. You don't have to lock the slide back like you do on an M&P or an XD to disassemble it. You don't have to do any of that. It's very easy. Slide features. Well, it's got decent rear serrations, no front serrations. If you look here, just kind of your standard cuts. I like that on the PPQ, they improved it by adding front serrations and making these rear ones deeper. So they're decent serrations, but they're kind of shallow. It's just a lot of stuff that has evolved from pistols into modern pistols, where they've become a lot more common, has been remedied with the PPQ for this gun. So the PPQ serrations are better than these, but they're okay. It also has a striker cocked indicator, if you look on the back. This is something that's kind of disappeared from a lot of modern day pistols, and while it's not a necessary thing to have, you see my M&Ps don't have it. XDs do have it, and some other ones do. I'm not even sure if the PPQ actually has this feature, but you see when the striker's cocked, that little red dot's there. So it may not be necessary on modern pistols, but I like that. And I think the reason they put that there is because of this button that I'm about to show you in a second. It's got a decocker button on the top, which I think is unnecessary and outdated. Any decocker on a striker fired pistol, especially with the Beretta Nano also, completely unnecessary. There's just no reason for it to be there. Why does it need to be decocked? Because if you decock it, you see this button right here is your decocker. All right, you see it pops in. Now you can't pull the trigger at all. So what is the point of having a decocker on a striker fired pistol? They have decockers on double single action, usually metal frame pistols like SIGs and Berettas. But when you decock that, it puts it in a double action mode, so it makes your trigger pull longer. But when you have a decocker on a polymer frame striker fired pistol, it completely deactivates the trigger. So what is the point of that? What are they trying to accomplish with that exactly? I think it may be because it was made in the early 90s, and that's when they were kind of uptight about firearm safeties and crap like that, because it's just not necessary. The PPQ doesn't have it, thank God, because it probably just adds more complexity to the internals, but completely unnecessary. The decocker does not need to be there. It's a dumb design, but I guess they realize it's dumb because the PPQ doesn't have it. The extractor spring feels kind of weak. I mean, it didn't have any issues with it, but it felt kind of weak, and it has a built-in chamber indicator. So I'll do a James Yeager danger check here, and I'll show you when I load around. If you look on the very edge right there, you can see that little red line. So that is your chamber indicator, and it's built onto the striker. Most guns have like a loaded chamber window. They'll have a little piece that sticks up, like with my Rigger, the little piece sticks up. And then on my M&P, it has a little window on the end of the chamber. But this was an early gun, and I do kind of like that because a lot of old pistols don't have chamber indicators, but you see it there. I mentioned the extractor spring feels really weak. I mean, you can hear me pushing it in and out. It's really, really easy to move. A lot of modern guns, you really can't move the extractors by hand because those springs are so freaking tight, and that's common on all of them, not just M&Ps. Glocks are the same way. They have a really tight extractor. Rugers are the same way. M&Ps are the same way. XDs are the same way. Maybe it's just because it's old and spring technology's come a long way, but that extractor is really weak. Now, did I have issues with ejection? No, it pulled everything out just fine. I guess it just kind of doesn't inspire confidence, really. The barrel lockup is like slamming a safe shut. It's very smooth and tight, and it feels like the slide is on glass. I also like that it has a flat wound recoil spring, and that's actually kind of kind of a good thing for older guns. If you look at a lot of older guns, they'll have a regular round coil spring, but this one's flat wound, and it's captive. So I take it off of here, and the spring is captured. I really like that. I think that's great. It's very easy. I don't like that the back is made of polymer here. It's kind of cheap, but there are a lot of polymer guide rods nowadays that work, and this one works too. It's not like this gun had any failures for me. It worked fine. But this slide, I don't know how Walther does it exactly, and maybe HK is the same way, but that is unbelievably smooth, and when that barrel locks in there, it feels tight. It feels very tight lockup. Everything is fitted exceptionally. So that is the German quality from Walther that you do see in this gun, that you're like, well, it's old, but they still did a lot of things right on this pistol. So that's a very good attribute for this pistol, that the slide and barrel are very well done. Now, it's got polymer sights, and I don't like that, but the rear sight is shelved. Sight picture's average, nothing really special. The dots aren't recessed, and that kind of bothers me compared to some modern offerings too. And the rear is driftable I guess it's driftable by a screw, and the front is pinned. So polymer sights, never like polymer sights. Glock guys change the sights on their factory Glocks all the time because they're polymer. I just think it's just stupid. If you got to manipulate this, on your belt or something, or one-handed or whatever, or just scrape it on something, the fact that they're polymer, I mean, dude, that's what you need to aim this thing. Having polymer sights is not good. The side picture, I said, is average. Rear notch is kind of wide. I guess it's more combat setup. And that front dot is really small, but it's an average sight picture. Front sight's pinned. Rear sight is driftable by that little thing. You can twist that screw. And the sights, the dots on the sights are not recessed. So what I mean is those dots are on the surface. So you could probably actually scratch them off on something and then not have dots at all. Look at a lot of modern offerings, like the M&P, you see the dots are actually painted and recessed. So they're actually pushed in there. And that's pretty common on pretty much all pistols nowadays. They don't have dots just sitting on the top of here like this. They're recessed so that they don't scrape off on something. But I don't know, just another thing that makes this gun old. You're gonna hear me harp on that a lot. So just an older gun. I'm pretty sure the PPQ has metal sights. If you watch my review in there, I'm gonna link it somewhere in this video. I'm sure you'll see that. But yeah, polymer sights on this gun, that's kind of a miss too. And having the dots not recessed, kind of a miss too. Accuracy and reliability. Heavy and long trigger makes accuracy difficult. I talked about that. Follow-up shots are a little bit tricky because your finger's moving around so much in there. It didn't run 100% with everything, and I only ran reloads on my outing. If you look, these are some of my 165 grain round nose hand loads. I shot some 180 grain stuff, very mid-range hand loads. It ran everything fine. It did not have an issue with reliability at all. It's a very reliable pistol. So the action felt really smooth. It just ran everything great. I can't complain about that. I mean, it runs awesome. You saw the footage. It shoots kind of a 6 o'clock hold, so you know, just right above the front sight whenever you line these up. And I will say overall, this is a classic pistol. If you want a classic, I'd probably suggest not getting the QA model. But I would also recommend getting the PPQ even above that. So if you want a classic and you want a P99, I would avoid the QA model. But if you want a good Walther pistol, you know, just straight from the factory in an updated form, the PPQ is an exceptionally good polymer pistol, and it remedied a lot of the issues that this had, or, you know, issues in general that maybe engineers saw or customers like me saw with this gun. So that's all I have to say about the P99. Hopefully you enjoyed this review, and y'all take care.